In this video, you'll see how I took basically a couple of large pieces of refrigerator foam, blue extruded polystyrene, and used that foam to make two 30-inch by 10-inch aircraft ducts. Now these ducts are rings that fit on a small UAV that's a helicopter, and they'll be used to direct airflow around the rotor blades. I started out building a duplicator and quickly gave up on that and just decided to take my milling machine, swing the head around, and bolt a bunch of 80/20 that I had to it, make the duplicator basically on the milling machine. Now, this worked out okay. It was the rotary axes that gave me some trouble. I ended up using an old AC variable frequency drive that I had. You can see it here in the picture. Connected that to a phase converter, and was able to control the speed of my A axes that way. Once I had the motor connected, it was a matter of squaring up the router head to the rotary table I had just created and trimming up the rotary table platen so that it was perfectly square to the router, and just everything was plain. So this duct is made out of a stack of foam, as I described earlier. Now the foam was in blocks, and I needed to cut it into rings. And I did that by first cutting the rough squares, putting them on the mill, and making the rough rings out of them. They were oversized rings, and then sandwiching them together using foam spray. Once the rings were all glued together, I machined them all to the same size, and then I put them all to the part's final inner dimension and outer dimension and height. And you can see that here in the video. Fairly difficult, mostly because the foam had a tendency to move. When I was machining it, it would deflect a little bit with the router. At this point, I'm starting to cut the various angles and radiuses into the duct itself. Now, I had thought when I started this that I could copy the profiles with my little duplicator attachment that you see there, and that somehow it would transfer over into the foam. It didn't. Because the milling machine only has linear axes and I was following curves, There's a hole I cut in to be able to check the profile. Otherwise, it's a solid disc. Last thing I'll do is, with the routers, I'll part off as close as I can to the inside of the duct. And then I'll hand sand that last little bit of foam. Alright, so at this point the ring is basically done. I've parted the inner core from this outside ring, and I've done my finish sanding. I took the RPMs up from maybe 100 RPMs up to 400 or 500 RPMs, and just sanded the inside, and prepped it for delivery.